So today I'm going to do my update thoughts on what is going on with B&M stock. I asked you guys on yesterday's video, do you want to see an updated thoughts on it? And it was certainly in demand, so I've got that video for you today. Yesterday, yeah, awful day for B&M. Stock was down over 20%, and that comes off a profit warning after already giving a profit warning around about 2 weeks ago, which for me was one of the worst updates that I've seen a company do probably this year. I thought it was terrible, and yeah, I think the signs that there was probably another profit warning were written all over it. I think I pretty much covered it on YouTube for them reasons that it's not looking good. I felt like the stock on the last profit warning should have probably fallen sub £2. It didn't, but obviously with this other profit warning on top, it has now fallen to the sub £2 range, and I could argue the case that maybe B&M could have been even slightly lower after that profit warning, because the last one was, the one that we had 2 weeks ago was poor, but this one the other day, yesterday, was very, very concerning. So we'll give my updated thoughts on B&M. What is a better feeling is that I don't have to cover this as a shareholder of B&M. I used to own B&M, and after the last profit warning, the stock was only down like 7% after it. I was like, wow, I've got away one big time there. I am selling out of this position, running away. I managed to get out for a small loss, and in fact, if you take the profit trims in, I actually got a net gain as well, which was also pretty good going. The fact that I was able to run away for really unscathed from that update, I was like, yeah, I'm running, because the amount of, probably the worst update that I've seen a company do this year, and I got away with only a little hit, running away. But after that, obviously then they've hit another profit warning, which wasn't a big surprise to me, because like I said, I think it was written in the last update there was probably another profit warning coming. I just didn't expect it to be so soon, like 2 weeks after the last one. So yeah, I've got away with that one there, but I think the writing was on the wall. Like I said, I don't want to, like, first thing I want to say is I don't want to like brag about like getting out too much, because I know there's a few people that maybe stayed in the course of B&M. So the last thing they want to hear is come on a video about B&M and then see me like bragging about getting out of it pretty unscathed the other week, and now obviously they're underwater a significant amount. But there is an element that I did make a video 12 days ago saying, look, I've sold all my B&M. I've walked away from it. Like, the update was terrible. In the video, it was a half an hour video basically, and I went through all the issues that was in that update. It was terrible, and yeah, I couldn't believe the response to it. Like, I got absolutely slated. I got loads of stuff on the YouTube comments, loads of stuff on X, loads of stuff on like forums, Trading 2 and 2 forums about the video, and I was like, I'm just giving my honest opinion. Like, these are the big errors that I'm seeing in this last update, and it's just making me feel nervous. My gut's telling me like there's so many things wrong here. I think if I'm holding this position going forward, I'm gambling. I'm hoping it's going to work out. In that update, there was nothing that concrete told me like there was going to be moving in the right direction, and I had concerns. I'll point out things saying this is a concern, this is a concern, and I just posted my honest opinion, and I could not believe the amount I got slated doing that video. This is just some screenshots from one of the Trading 2 and 2 forums, which was like, they're far better YouTubers on UK investing. He's embarrassing. He's a clown who is only after YouTube revenue and nothing more, just my opinion. I mean, if you're going to come after a guy that's up 50% year to date and say them sort of things, I don't know what to say. I'm just there trying to give my honest opinions, trying to help you guys make money. For a lot of you guys, I'm sure that's the case. I'm up 50% the year to date. I'm sure a lot of you guys are up 50% year to date. I'd say most of my stock picks have been like 9 out of 10 have worked out, maybe 8 out of 10, which is obviously really a really good track record. And if you're going to come for me and think you're going to be right on that 1 out of 10 that goes wrong, you got to be careful, guys. And yeah, I could not believe like the negativity that I received on that video when I called like these concerns out. And there's part of me a little bit smug today. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to brag in front of people that are still holding B&M, because I know there'll be some of you out there. But there's also, when I saw the update come out, there was part of me. I want to see everyone make money, and I know a lot of people will be in B&M, and you're probably not bothered about this, but there was part of me thinking, there was a bit of me a little bit smug about seeing that stock go down and being like, I did warn you, and I tried to give my honest opinion, and then I got absolutely slated over the internet on X, YouTube comments, on Trading 2 and 2 forums. And all these people there, you know, hopefully the bag isn't too heavy for you guys, because I'm sure it's, you know, a bit of a weighing down at the moment. But, you know, that's what I'll try to do. Just give my honest opinions. If I see the concerns, I'll tell you guys. If I see the positives, I'll tell you guys. And you do that information, what you want to do with that information. But I think I've not seen stick like that since 2022 stock market crash. But some of the stuff that was thrown out there, after giving my honest opinion, you know, I thought it was a bit disrespectful, ultimately. But yeah, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's actually go on to some financials, because that's what you guys are probably here for. So obviously they came out with a H1 update on the 7th of October, which obviously delivered a profit warning. We've covered all that before, so I won't go through it. That's on that video there. New information. What is the new information that came out? So yesterday, update on financial year 26 guidance and director change. So as soon as I saw that headline, I was like, oh, this is not good. You know, you've done an H1 update a couple of weeks ago, and now you're coming back to the market. This is not going to be good reading. So what happened? So they said that they had around about 7 million of overseas freight costs not correctly recognised in the cost of goods sold. So if you go back to this video here, this was actually one of my concerns. I said to you guys on that video, these guys have no control over the freight costs. Like, clearly they've lost control. I pointed it out in that video. I said, like, this is a major concern. Like, when you were looking at freight costs and container costs, they've been going down massively. And B&M in that video, in that report that came out a while ago, you know, they came out and said, like, we're having increased costs with freight costs. How? Freight costs are halved in the last year. That's it, screaming to me like you are not managing these freight costs correctly. So the fact that it's an error in the freight costs is not a surprise to me, because it said to me in the last update that they hadn't got control over it and they're not been watching numbers correctly. So no surprise there that there was an error there, because it screams. I pointed out in the last video, I said there's a major error going on with these. You know, not managing the cost correctly. I don't know, you know, what it is, but it's lazy. Now this is where it gets majorly concerning. So they said that this is now going to impact their outlook. So they are now expecting a 470 million to 520 million impact on the financial year 26 EBITDA range. Now, this is major concerning, because yes, there was an impact of 7 million, but that has now led to what was already a downgrade only 2 weeks ago. If you look at the guidance they gave in that period, they gave a guidance of 510 to 560 million. So that's a major downgrade, like 40 million on the low side, and on the high side, is that another 40 million downgrade? Yeah, another 40 million downgrade. So this is not only, for me, and I couldn't believe that nobody was speaking about this the other day, is that this isn't only them coming to the market and saying, look, we've made a bit of a balls up about this. And the other concern about that is, like, you know, the lack of control of financials. Is there anything else that's going to come out? You know, that's a major cock up. So is there going to be some other things that come out in the next few weeks? I don't know. And maybe that's why the guidance has been moved so down. But if that's the other reason, that could potentially it. But that downgrade there is a big downgrade. That's another downgrade on the 10%, the other downgrade that I had previously. And that screams to me that either they're preparing for more mistakes to come out, which, you know, that would be total loss of trust in the market. The other thing is that since then, they've seen a massive deterioration once again in the sales. And because of that, that's why they've done such a big downgrade, which is, you know, a major concern. But once again, I go back to this video here that I did, and I said to you guys, like, the 30% decline on EBITDA says to me they've lost total control of financials. Like, this isn't just like, oh, we're lowering the bar a little bit so we can beat further down the line. A few people saying it's because of the kitchen sink in it. It wasn't that. It was a total loss of controls of financials. You don't do a 30% decline in EBITDA just to kitchen sink it. That's total loss. And this is another example with this mistake on the freight costs. But what also I said in that video there is that the 30% decline in EBITDA in the H1, they've set themselves up for way hard, tough comps in H2, because what that was leading to is that in H2, I think it was only like a 10% decline in EBITDA. Well, there's no way they're going to improve from a 30% decline to a 10% decline in the H2. No way they're going to recover that much. No chance. And obviously, maybe they've looked at the numbers, looked at the poor September and October, gone, there's no way we're hitting that in H2. Bring it down. And that's also another element. Like, I've sat through B&M and I saw one poor management team come in. And as soon as I saw one other poor management team come in and gave me one update where I went, that is awful, probably worse than the other one that I had to sit through with the old CEO, I was out. I was not sitting there and waiting for the 60, the ship to hit the bottom of the sea before I jump out. I'm making sure that there's quite a bit of water coming on board here. I'm jumping out here. I've got to protect wealth. And then that video there, that's what I said to you guys. I said, it's my money. There's no loyalty in here, in the stock market game. Number one rule, protect your money. And I saw a lot of these concerns and went, I've got to protect my money here. And that's what I did. That's why I moved. I had to move away from the business, a couple of weeks ago. So total loss of financial control. And I think ultimately, like the B&M management team have not been honest with the shareholders. I pointed that to a while ago, and clearly this is the case. Clearly there's something worse going on at B&M than what they're currently letting on. Like, for this decline to happen, what is it? Because I was listening to Paul Hill and Paul Scott, I think it was, or someone else, and they were like blaming on like China and people going to Chinese goods, but that's nothing new. China's been around for years. People go to the shops because they want to see things in person. That's what they do. The Chinese quality is poor. I made an order from Shein and Temu like the last couple of weeks. Must have bought like 14, 15 things from them. Ended up sending 12 back because they were terrible quality. And I don't think that's the case. Maybe they're losing market share to home bargains or more home-based companies. That could be the case. I'm not sure. Is the things that are getting stolen from the store, is that it? Is the stores need a complete revamp? Is the foot traffic down? Have they just not been tight enough on what they're buying in prices at and selling things at? I don't know. But there's a lot more under here that I think they're letting on. And that's what I'm saying, like, it's just not good enough overall. And obviously that's led the CFO to get the boot. So there's going to be a new management team, new CEO in, new CFO in. This is the full results coming out on the 13th of November. So we'll see if there's any more surprises then when they come out in a 2 or 3 weeks time overall. But I mean, significantly, that's a major drop to the profitability now. If you look at the downtrend of EPSs, from where they came at the start of the year to where they're at now, you're getting nearly to half of a EPS cut, which is significant. And there's a point where it comes in like, is this company having a bit of a blip, or is this company self-destructing right in front of our eyes? And how long are you going to wait on that ship to see if it self-destructs? There'll be a point, imagine like Woolworths, right? At what point do you watch Woolworths and go, oh, it's just a blip, they'll be back. Okay, they've got a new CEO, they'll change it out, they'll revamp it. Until eventually you end at the bottom and you go, oh my days, like, they could be going bankrupt right now. Like, at what point do you put that point in? That's ultimate. And I know right now we look at B&M and going, oh, B&M, it's not a Woolworths 2.0. But what point do you have to start thinking, but it could be? Because when your profits are half in, how long till that eventually catches up, especially with a company that has a high debt load, which B&M has, before it gets, a major concern. And I know a lot of people at the moment are saying, well, I'll just buy this and I'll sit in the dividend. It's an 8.7% dividend yield at the moment, but you've got a new CFO coming in. So what happens if the CFO comes in and goes, right, I've got the ability now to come in and cut this dividend. That's what I'm going to do because we need to preserve capital. And then all of a sudden you're left with a company that has revenue stagnant at the moment, which I think is the case, I believe it is for this year. Yeah. Oh no, it's a slight increase. But a lot of that is from new store openings, not that they're growing like-for-like sales, which once again was a major concern in the last update, that they went from positive like-for-like sales to declining like-for-like sales in the last update, and it's been a good time for retail shops, which shouldn't have happened. So that's another major issue that we've covered before. Your profit is now in an awful trend. So you look at this, 367, 319, 275. So you've had a 30% decline in your profit. So that's going to catch up with you. And eventually, this new CFO goes, you know what? I need to scrap the dividends here. They pay 147 million out in ordinary dividends, which is still well covered by the profitability. What's the profit on B&M at the moment now? Expected to be 275 million. So that's still okay. I guess the only issue that you might have is that they want to keep the dividend covered by like 40 to 50% of their earnings. And clearly that's gone over it now, which once again pushes, will there be a dividend cut? The special dividend, that's totally wiped out now. So they won't be able to do, they could do a slight special dividend, but not much. So that's gone. Which was one of the benefits of you get an ordinary dividend and you get a special dividend. But the other thing is that, the dividend is going to take up a lot of the profit, basically. But, what you're going to have eventually there is that the money that you're going to have left, you're not going to be able to do obviously your special dividend that we mentioned, but your buybacks are going to be limited. That's what they said this is what I always wanted clarity around the management team about what is your plan with buybacks. Because, are they going to be able to do buybacks now? You've got a balance sheet that's catching up with you. It's an ugly balance sheet. And your profits keep shrinking and shrinking. And your main aim is to be paying your debt down now. That should be the main concern. But you're going to have hardly any profit left to go pay your debt down. So I'm looking and thinking, well, is the dividend under threat now? And that's the case. I know people keep saying, well, the dividend's safe. But eventually, at what point, when your profits collapsing like this, do you have to look and go, you can't just keep getting everything you earn and paying it out into shareholders when, the debt load keeps getting higher, because we've seen that before. That is 101 on how companies go bankrupt, is that they pay dividends that they cannot afford as the profit collapses and the balance sheet catches up with them because the debt load heavy. And that's another issue that you have at the moment. One thing I want to point out as well is that I've seen a lot of people saying, I've covered this before, but I'm still seeing it mentioned. It's been said by really well-respected investors as well, which is concerning to me because these guys are supposed to be the top dogs, and you would expect them to know this and have done the research for this. But a lot of people have been saying about these CEO buys, and a few people saying, the CEO has only been buying some of these shares because he is contracted to buy the shares, which isn't true. So this is from the annual report. You can see here that this is the current policy. So we don't know what the current policy is. So that might have changed from the new CEO, which operated during the year. They say that the shareholding guidelines is for executive directors to build up and maintain 200% of a base salary of shares. When they don't meet the shareholding guideline, they are expected to retain 50% of all shares which they are awarded under the share plan. And not sell them. So, as we can see here, that's not true. They can build stakes up, so then when they are rewarded their share bonuses, they can sell all the shares to the market if they want to. That is an option. But, first of all, we don't know if this policy is maintained this year. We also know that they have to build up, if they are going to do this, and let's say it has been maintained this year, then the CEO had a year. So, when did it come in? May time. So he would have until May 2026 to build up his share stake. So for me, if the CEO came in and all of a sudden he saw blooming neck, there's a lot of work that needs here. I need to come into the market and I need to kitchen sink it. And in fact, this is going to be a lot worse than what I was expecting. If he came in and he really had a look at the numbers, he would have a good idea of this is worse than what I was expecting. He would surely not go, okay, I've got 12 months to build up a stake here. He surely would not come in and build his stake up this quickly when he knew how bad it could get. He would surely go, okay, this could get a lot worse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until I get all the bad news out. I'm not going to be buying at the £2.50 range. I'm going to wait, and you know what? It could go a lot lower. So, maybe I need to I'll get the chance to buy at £1.70 then. So that's the point that I want to make. That what also made me a bit nervous is the CEO managed to was buying all these shares when there were all these issues. So was he not aware? How was he not aware of these issues? That makes me nervous. And let's say he doesn't build up a stake in his position, then all he has to do is then he has to maintain 50% of his shares that are awarded to him. So he doesn't even have to build up a stake. He can go, nah, I'm not building up a stake. Every time I get awarded shares, I'll just keep 50% of them. And then I can even then sell off the other 50%. So it's just not true. And that's something that I've seen a few people talk about, and just a bit of clarity on that, because I've seen that mentioned in a few places overall. I guess that overall leads me around what's my current thoughts on B&M. Is it a stock that I'm interested in? No, not really. Like I said after this update here, like there's a lot of things that are smelling fishy to me, and we've started to see some of them coming out. I said then, if I'm buying the stock right now, I'm gambling, because there's no signs of like it going up in the right direction. All the signs that we had 6 months ago have gone. Like for like going back up in the right direction, retail sales coming back pretty decent. Yeah, it all seems, the CEO saying the new lines he's been trying to do, having good success. Freight costs coming down, seems no benefit in B&M. Not putting prices up on things in this inflationary environment. Yeah, it looked terrible. Like all the things were moving in the wrong direction, and I can't buy a stock where the fundamentals are going in the wrong direction. I'm just gambling. If I want to gamble, I'd go down to the casino down the road. It's gambling. I'm an investor. I invest in things where I go, okay, this looks good. Valuation looks good. Things moving in the right direction. I say to you guys all the time, if you want to have a successful company, you need to buy a company that has revenue and profit going in the right direction. This company hasn't, and in fact, it's deteriorating even faster. So why would I buy? If I'm wanting to buy, I've got to see signs of improvement. The only signs that I'm getting at the moment is this business is getting worse and worse. So I would have no reason to buy. So that would be overall, like I won't buy in general just because the signs are just getting worse at the moment. So that's what my thoughts are on B&M. I mean, if we're looking at a number point of view, I did do a couple of numbers for you guys. I'll just have a quick look at them. So I put 1-3% revenue growth in. I shifted all the profit margins down. Historically, B&M has been about 6% profit margin, but it looks like maybe the profit margins are under threat now, so I've moved them down to 3-4-5%. 8 times earnings. I think the market will not value it higher than 8 times earnings until they build some trust back in the market, so I can't value it more than that. And no upside on the low side. 14% on the mid side, which I guess you could argue the case if you have the dividend on top, maybe you do okay, but it's still not amazing, and I think the dividend could be under pressure now. High side, 50%. Yeah, but you'd have to get to 3% revenue growth and make sure those profits just hang in there a little bit longer. So, yeah, I would have to see the company show, levels where they could get back to 5% revenue growth. Maybe they have the ability to get 6 times earnings. And then the market goes, okay, you've proven to us that you are turning it around, so let's put you back up at 12 times multiple. Then there's a nice upside, but I'm not willing to buy that until there's more proof. And let's say that even if I wait till there's more proof and I miss a jump up in the share price and B&M ends up being, I don't know, back up to a £2 range, well, sure, I missed a little bit of upside there on it going back up to £2, but I know the financials are moving back up in the right direction then. I'm not gambling. And you know what? Yeah, I missed 10%. But I'm still going to, if they are turning around, I would make 180%. But I don't know if that's going to happen. So that's why I've got to wait and see if, we're going to, see that start happening. The ultimate case is if there was a major, like let's say B&M carries on bleeding from here, which I think there's a good chance, because when you have lost the trust of the market, how they have, I think there is a good chance it could have a very slow bleed, even lower. The only other thing that could happen is, let's say B&M goes to like a ridiculously low valuation, and let's say to the point where B&M goes from £1.73 down to, I don't know, like £1, £1.20 stock. That could be like where I go, okay, maybe it's worth a smaller punt here that they do turn it around, and even if they just maintain profitability here and just slight growth, maybe then I could maybe buy it. That would maybe be the only other thing, but by then, like I said, you're talking about like another 30% drop from where we're at right now, which will put you down to like a 1.4 billion market cap potentially, maybe even lower than that. To be fair, I think I've put that in a bit too high. And look, there you go. Actually, let's just go. I'm going to go a little bit lower. Actually, let's say 1.3 billion market cap, for example. Let's take it down so we get that 100% on that high side. Yeah, 1.3 billion. What's it now? 1.7 billion. So maybe that might tempt me in. I don't know. But my major concern, like I said to you guys a while ago, is that the the update that we had 2 weeks ago was a mess. You know, that it was probably one of the, if not the worst the worst financial update that I've seen this year. There were so many concerns in it, and it just looked like they'd lost control of the business. From the freight rates to where the direction the business was going in, the store layouts, what products is it going to sell. The CFO looked like they've lost control of the business. The guidance was all over the place. And, you know, from when I pointed that out, it's clear that, you know, once again, this is showing in the financials, and it's just not good enough. So, yeah. It's a situation where I'm happy I'm on the sidelines, ultimately, and it's not really one that I'm even with the drop on, I'm not interested going in until I see more positive signs from it, ultimately. So that's everything with B&M. Hopefully there's some useful information there for you guys anyway. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit.